The files also include a diary from a woman who says she gave birth to Epstein's child around 2002. Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're re-examining the newest Epstein Files release and the uncomfortable questions it raises about accountability. Do you think you're the devil himself? No, but I do have a good mirror. A data dump unlike any other. Over 3 million pages released. Today's release marks the end of a very comprehensive document identification and review process to ensure transparency to the American people. In a letter to Congress, Blanche and Attorney General Pam Bondi acknowledged approximately 200,000 pages have been redacted or withheld based on various privileges. If you thought the Epstein case had already given up its secrets, the January 30, 2026 release proved otherwise. The Department of Justice published over 3 million responsive pages in a single tranche, bringing the total disclosed under federal transparency law to nearly 5 million pages. That includes investigative records, internal correspondence, scheduling material, and metadata from multiple agencies along with more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images. These messages from 2013 show Epstein connecting New York Giants co-owner Steve Tisch with various women. In one exchange, Tisch asked about a woman only identified as M, writing, "Curious to know about M, pro or civilian." The sheer scale changes how the case is understood. This is no longer just a criminal dossier. It's a sprawling administrative archive that documents how law enforcement, prosecutors, and institutions interacted with Epstein for decades. Can you assure the American public that President Trump, like every other prominent person whose name came up in relation to the Epstein files, that all documents, photos, and anything relevant to him connected to the case are being released? I mean, yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute. We complied with the act, and there is no we did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. Legal compliance achieved, but full transparency is still elusive. We have released there are small number of documents, as I said on Friday, that we're waiting for a judge to say we're allowed to release because of a protective order, but this review is over. I mean, we reviewed over 6 million pieces of paper, thousands of videos, tens of thousands of images, and which is what the statute required us to do. Officially, the Justice Department insists it has complied with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, but critics argue that legal compliance is not the same thing as meaningful transparency. While the documents are technically searchable and downloadable, their volume, inconsistent formatting, and lack of narrative context make real analysis daunting. Lawmakers and watchdog groups have accused the DOJ of creating quote obfuscation by scale, where overwhelming quantity substitutes for clarity. Leadership on the Hill, Congressman Massey, Senator Schumer are quick to complain. There is no way they have spent any time looking at the materials we produce because I know the materials we produce. We produced them on Friday. By Saturday, they're already complaining about what we did. Others point out that millions of pages were deemed responsive, yet not all were released, raising questions about what standards were used and who decided. The result is a disclosure that satisfies the letter of the law while still frustrating the public's demand for straightforward answers. We have nothing to hide. We never did, and our doors are open if they want to come and review any of the materials that we produced. Redaction breakdown exposed victims. Your release on Friday has already received response from the victims from Jeffrey Epstein's victims. I want to show the statement right now. It says survivors are having their names and identifying information exposed. One of the most damaging aspects of the rollout had nothing to do with powerful names and everything to do with victims. Despite assurances of rigorous review, redaction failures allowed documents to go live containing names, contact information, and financial details linked to survivors. The federal agency had to remove the documents from its site yesterday because some reveal the names of victims. Attorneys for survivors say the Justice Department failed to redact the identities of at least 31 people who were victimized as children. Some of those victims now say they are being harassed through private messaging. The DOJ was forced to pull thousands of files offline to correct the errors, but the exposure had already occurred. Victim advocates condemned the mishandling, arguing that transparency should never come at the cost of re-traumatizing survivors. Beyond the human toll, the episode shattered confidence in the release process itself. The files may have inadvertently included victim-identifying information due to various factors, including technical or human error. Multiple survivors calling for the takedown, writing the DOJ committed what may be the single most egregious violation of victim privacy in one day in United States history. The files are crowded with global power brokers. I have to acknowledge the elephant in the room at this moment. Your ex-husband Bill is named in the newest tranche of Epstein Files, and there are new alleged details about his past behavior, and I want to give you the opportunity to respond in whatever way you want to. As soon as researchers and journalists began digging in, one thing became clear. Epstein's reach was vast. The files repeatedly reference figures from finance, technology, politics, and royalty, appearing in emails, calendars, invitations, and internal notes. Importantly, inclusion does not equal guilt. The DOJ has been explicit that many names appear incidentally or through third-party claims. Another person that has come out in these new documents is Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He and his family, it looks like, spent time on the island with Epstein. Also, he appears to have had a lunch with Epstein. Someone wrote back on the behalf of Epstein and said, "It was nice to see him," to Howard Lutnick. Lutnick's response was, "I spent zero time with him." Still, the density of influential figures paints a disturbing picture of access. Epstein wasn't operating on the fringes. He was circulating through elite networks with ease, even after his 2008 conviction. The real shock isn't that powerful names appear. It's how normalized Epstein's presence seemed to be in rooms where influence is exercised. And what's striking about all of this is once again we have seen over and over very high-profile powerful men who have continued to say that they had no relationship, no connection to Jeffrey Epstein. But clearly with these millions of files that we continue to see released, they tell a very, very different story. Epstein actively courted access to top political power players. The DOJ also posted, then temporarily removed without explanation, a spreadsheet of complaints made to the FBI, including unverified allegations about both President Trump and former President Bill Clinton. Per the document, the FBI determined some of those claims were found to be not credible. The documents reinforce a long-suspected pattern. Epstein actively pursued proximity to political power. Emails and scheduling records show repeated efforts to arrange introductions, maintain relationships, and present himself as to decision makers. This wasn't social climbing by accident. It was strategy. The files also show that Epstein repeatedly took the fifth during a 2016 deposition when asked more than a dozen questions about former President Clinton. Among them, several about whether Mr. Clinton visited Epstein's private island and flew in his private plane. Epstein cultivated the appearance of relevance, positioning himself as a connector, donor, or source of insight. That perception mattered. When someone appears adjacent to presidents, ministers, or senior officials, often enough, institutions begin to treat them cautiously, sometimes differentially. The files don't prove a single political conspiracy. What they do show is how sustained access can discourage scrutiny. Epstein's greatest shield wasn't secrecy. It was the assumption that someone so connected must already be vetted. When they go ahead, reporters and high-profile people, trust me, they knew these weren't secrets. They not only knew it socially, they knew it because people do their research. And yet, they continued to pass that aside. So, if people are embarrassed or held to task right now because their names are there and their own emails in their own words are there, they should have to answer for that association. Absolutely. The 2007 case that never happened. The Justice Department has released 3 million documents and photos connected to Jeffrey Epstein. A drafted indictment that was never filed is included in the release. It accuses Epstein and 3 unnamed defendants of conspiring to traffic 19 young girls from 2001 to 2005. Among the most consequential revelations is documentation from 2007 when federal investigators drafted a prosecution memo and proposed indictment that were never pursued. These records suggest authorities once considered a broader case than the narrow resolution that ultimately emerged. While the files don't spell out why the effort stalled, their existence confirms that the limited outcome wasn't inevitable. Instead of bringing the indictment, federal prosecutors reached a non-prosecution agreement with him in 2007. And through it he avoided federal charges and served 13 months in state prison. There was a moment when the system appeared poised to go further. Instead, the case was scaled back and Epstein went on to re-enter elite society. The question the files raised is simple and uncomfortable. What might have been prevented if that earlier path had been taken? Epstein recruited girls to engage in sex acts with him, after which he would give the victims hundreds of dollars in cash, and paid some victims to recruit additional girls to be similarly abused. When you saw him, it just brought back bad memories. Yeah, it brought back the last time I saw him, which was right there at the massage table. Files surface claims of Epstein's secret children. Among the most shocking are messages and diary entries suggesting Epstein may have secretly fathered children. A 2011 email from Sarah Ferguson, the ex-wife of Prince Andrew, congratulated Epstein on his baby boy, saying she had heard the news from Andrew. Even though you never kept in touch, I am still here with love, friendship, and congratulations on your baby boy. Ferguson wrote, few revelations traveled faster than an apparent 2011 message linked to Sarah Ferguson congratulating Epstein on a supposed, quote, baby boy. The document's inclusion ignited speculation overnight, blending tabloid intrigue with genuine confusion. She describes the birth and includes a 20-week ultrasound scan, alleging that the baby was taken at birth under the supervision of Ghislaine Maxwell. She was born, I heard her cries, the diary reads. I saw this tiny head and body in between the doctor's hands. Ghislaine said she was beautiful. Where is she? But the facts are far less explosive. Epstein's brother, Mark Epster, has publicly denied that Epstein had any children, and no verified DNA evidence supports the claim. The shock lies not in confirmation, but in exposure. When millions of pages are released at once, context collapses. The files don't prove Epstein had a secret child. They prove how easily a document can outpace the truth. There is no independent confirmation that Epstein had children, but the allegations echo earlier reports that he planned to impregnate women at his New Mexico ranch to seed the world with his DNA. What are you, Class 3 sexual predator? Tier 1. Your was Tier 1's the highest and worst. No, I'm the lowest. You're the lowest. Okay. Tier 1, you're the lowest. Previously undisclosed emails link Epstein and Elon Musk. One of those names is the world's richest man, Elon Musk. He's always denied any close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. But they exchanged numerous emails trying to arrange a visit for Musk to Epstein's island in the Caribbean. In one of them, Musk goes on to write this. What day night will be the wildest party on your island? The tech world's attention zeroed in on newly released emails showing Epstein attempting to draw Elon Musk into his orbit. In a 2012 exchange reported by multiple outlets, Musk appears to ask which night would be the quote wildest party on Epstein's island. Musk has denied ever visiting the island, and the files themselves do not establish criminal conduct. Musk, who repeatedly has called for the release of an Epstein client list, denies any wrongdoing, writing over the weekend, if I actually wanted to spend my time partying with young women, it would be trivial for me to do so without the help of a creepy loser like Epstein. Still, the correspondence feels significant. It demonstrates how aggressively Epstein pursued rising power players, not just established political elites. Silicon Valley was clearly on his radar. The revelation isn't that Musk did something illegal. It's that Epstein was still confidently networking with the world's most influential figures years after his conviction with little apparent fear of consequence or reputational backlash. Billionaire Elon Musk has previously said he refused an invitation to Epstein's island. The documents suggest he wanted to be there for the wildest party. After the release, Musk posted, I have never been to any Epstein parties ever, and have many times called for the prosecution of those who have committed crimes with Epstein. Donald Trump's name appears hundreds of times in the files. The files also include 5,300 documents that reference Donald Trump, including unverified claims against him, news articles, as well as emails in which he is name-checked. To be very clear, Trump has not been accused of anything illegal and he denies any wrongdoing related to Jeffrey Epstein. One of the most discussed aspects of the release is the sheer number of references to US President Donald Trump. A reported analysis cited in coverage claims Trump appears tens of thousands of times across thousands of files spanning contact records, scheduling material. media references, and third-party claims. The DOJ has emphasized that many mentions are unverified or incidental and don't imply criminal behavior. Still, the volume guarantees attention, especially given President Trump's current position. The files offer a granular look at overlapping social circles in the 1990s and early 2000s before their public falling out. The takeaway isn't proof of wrongdoing. It's how deeply Epstein was embedded in elite social ecosystems. The newly released documents include uncorroborated claims about Donald Trump. The White House, responding to the Miami Herald, referred to a statement on the DOJ website denying any credibility in the accusations against the president. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. The DOJ draws the line. No new charges despite explosive records. Well, look, I can't talk about any investigations, but I will say the following, which is that in July, the Department of Justice said that we had reviewed the files, the quote Epstein Files, and there was nothing in there that allowed us to prosecute anybody. We then released over 3.5 million pieces of paper which the entire world can look at now and then see if we got it wrong. After all the anticipation, this may be the most deflating revelation of all. Despite acknowledging disturbing material, DOJ leadership has publicly played down the likelihood of new criminal charges emerging from the release. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has said the review is effectively complete, citing legal hurdles and evidentiary standards. We need to separate those two ideas. The fact that there's the Epstein Files and whether there's anybody there that we can go after, and the work that we are doing every day, which is extraordinary, and we will continue to do that. For victims and the public, the message lands hard. The record is larger, clearer, and more unsettling than ever. Yet, accountability remains frozen in time. The files illuminate failures, missed opportunities, and institutional caution. But crucially, they don't reopen courtrooms. That gap between revelation and consequence is why this release feels unresolved. Transparency arrived. Justice for many still hasn't. I think we really need to hear from Pam Bondi. Really, we've been trying to draft letters to her. We've been talking to him. I believe a survivor did actually write a letter to Todd Blanche. We've been asking in every interview. We've talked to non-profit organizations, and we have asked time and time again to talk to DOJ, and they have not responded to survivors. What do you think will happen next in the Epstein saga? Is there anything we missed? Be sure to let us know in the comments.